Bueno, volvemos con las charlas del Track 2. Ahora vamos a tener una charla súper interesante por Gail de la Cruz. Ella vive en Australia, comenzó trabajando en el NOC, en el Network Operations Center de Cisco. Actualmente trabaja de forma remota como Cyber Threat Analyst en un Security Operations Center, en un SOC, dentro de un equipo compuesto mayoritariamente por pentesters. Esto la llevó a adoptar la mentalidad del Purple Team, así que nos va a presentar una charla súper interesante sobre Purple Thinking y la influencia de la mentalidad hacker en un analista del SOC. I leave you with Gail and her talk.
Gracias. Thank you very much. So first of all, greetings from the future. It's now Sunday here because of the time differences, and yeah, it's around 1 a.m. where I am. I'm in Melbourne. So I'm going to be talking about purple thinking. It's about how my teammates who come from a red teaming background has influenced me to become a better SOC analyst. So first of all, like a brief, who am I? So yeah, where I am, where I live. So there's a joke here among the local security conference that I'm a B-Sides groupie. Last year, I went to the different B-Sides. So there was B-Sides Melbourne, B-Sides Sydney, B-Sides Brisbane, B-Sides Perth. So I went there. And I used to work, so basically my journey through cybersecurity was through tech, meaning I first started out doing network operation stuff, and then I got into security. I got into technical training and consulting, and then focused on security. So last year I was part of the Project Friedman. It's an initiative by the Australian Women in Security Network to help more women speak out in conferences or do public speaking. And I'm a firm believer in the IDIC principle. So if there's like any Star Trek fan there, yes. Yeah, so you can see like my rainbow beanie. So this is also my trademark hat. So if you're ever in Australia for a security conference, once things open up, yeah, look for the rainbow hat. I'll be there. Okay, so for this short presentation, I'm going to be covering what's a SOC, the evolution of the SOC, and then the blue team skill set, and then the blue and the red, why it becomes like purple, and then I'm going to talk about the hacker ethos. So this is aimed for people who may be new in the industry or who are considering which specialization or what particular niche or area in cybersecurity that they want to focus on. Okay. So first of all, pop quiz. Okay, so there are two photos that you see there. One is on the left and on the right, your izquierda and the derecho. So I'm gonna ask you, for these two photos, which one represents a SOC to you? Is the one on the left, izquierda, or derecha? All right, am I saying it correctly? So left or right? Okay. So, of course, I wouldn't be able to see you because I'm in Twitch. So, okay. So, yeah, let's see. Yeah, hopefully some people are giving like feedback. So, is it on the one on the left or on the right? So, if you actually chose this, the one wherein there's more people, yes, that is a representation of a SOC. Okay, so it's actually taken from a school website in Singapore. I used to live in Singapore before I migrated to Australia, and this is from a school wherein they have their own SOC there to train people who are interested in focusing on blue team or SOC, kind of activities. Okay, so first of all, why did I give this this pop quiz? Okay, so my background was that, so I used to work for Cisco. Sort of like, think of it, it's like a NOC, it's a network operations center, and we predominantly focus on making sure that the network is up. So of course we cannot aim for 100% uptime. It's like 99% or 99.99%. So that's a network, kind of setup. And then there were also some clients or customers who were concerned about their perimeter security. So it was more of like, making sure that the firewall is working. And then you have like, of course, your routers, your switches, and all those things. Okay. So what's the difference now? So when we talk about NOC, so on the left, on the left side of this presentation, the slide, you can see that on the left, these are the type of equipment, appliances that are under the purview or the one that is being taken care of by the NOC. And then eventually, there was a requirement to make sure that firewalls, VPN gateways are okay. And then later on, there was a requirement to focus on more like security aspects. So certain organizations have made used to only have like a NOC, wherein when you say NOC, all the routers, switches, or infrastructure stuff, even servers, applications, it's there. I mean, like people who are taking care of those things are in there, and they have like taking care of the security devices. But as security requirements grew and there's more e-commerce, more of like those internet related businesses that's happening, there was a greater need to have a more specialized group. And that's why suddenly you have like some organizations where instead of just having NOC, they have a NOC and then they have a SOC. So it could be that they started doing vulnerability management. So wherein they will do like asset discovery, do all those scanning of the different assets to figure out what's their vulnerability. And then you also have like security event monitoring. So that's basically like, think of it like the evolution from like just a NOC to having a NOC to separate SOC. Okay. Now it's also quite interesting because there are some organizations when you talk about SOC, so it's not just cybersecurity. They also do like what? Physical security. So sometimes you have also CCTV monitoring, all those things. There are also certain organizations wherein they don't call it SOC, they call it CSOC, meaning Cyber Security Operations Center. So you have those terminologies, those acronyms that you could, find in, like different organizations or even like, different literature. Okay. Now, when we talk about SOC, what is basically the essence of the SOC? It is more of like making sure that there's a collection of data and analysis. So it's important to not just collect, but also analyze the data. And the goal is to detect any suspicious activities so that the SOC team can act on it. Okay, so the idea is there has to be a response to malicious activity with the end goal of making sure that the organization's infrastructure or all their environment are well protected. And when we talk about SOC, there are, in terms of the activities that is being done there, it's mostly classified as blue team type of activity. Now I need to clarify the terms blue team, red team, especially for those people who are quite new to the industry. So traditionally, when we talk about blue team activities, these are activities that are designed to, defend the organization. It's more on defending, protecting. Now, when we talk about red teaming, it's more on like trying to have an adversarial type of activity. On the red teaming, you also have, penetration testing, and a lot of people who are new or sometimes people who are not in the industry will have this mindset that when we talk about cybersecurity, it's just, hacking or ethical hacking, and this is like penetration testing. So I go around talking about blue team stuff so that other people will know that there are different, paths or like, areas in cybersecurity. So it's not just, the ethical hackers. You also have people who are doing the defensive side, so on the side. So with that, so I came from like, the NOC background, then went into security. I specialized in the fear. So how did I get there? So I did a lot of self-studying, and then eventually I got sponsored for one SANS training. So that was an Forensics 408. And after that, I just like, wow, there's like so much, that I don't know. And I started, studying some more. And then I went for a graduate certificate in incident response from SANS Institute. And then eventually, when I moved to Australia, I applied to the UNSW in Canberra. So I went for my master's in cybersecurity with a focus on digital forensics. Okay, so it's really like I was before I joined this company. I work for cyber research in New Zealand. They're in New Zealand, but I'm based here in Melbourne. I work remotely, so I'm 100% work from home. So I come from like a blue team side, and then so in when we talk about like doing blue team stuff, it's more of like the mindset is that I have to detect and then I have to analyze, and then I have to respond. And then, of course, there's going to be that report. So when I write my reports, I always base it on the evidence. What did I see? And then based on what I saw, I try to put together like those different events to provide context about what happened. Okay. Now, the company that I work for is an MSSP. So what is an MSSP? It's a managed security services provider. So the model here is that the MSSP provides security services, okay? And there are different clients coming from like different industries. So going back to my example previously, where you have like the NOC, and then afterwards there was a specialization required, and then the security aspect was then move out, then you have a SOC. So that kind of example is based on what is called an in-house SOC, wherein the organization have their own security operations team. Unfortunately, not a lot of organizations have the right amount of people or people with the skills that can do this very specialized function. So there are some organizations wherein they realize that we don't have enough number of people, or it may be that they are in a location wherein it's difficult to attract people to work in that particular area, or maybe there's not like enough people specializing in that area. And that's why they will engage another company that provides this kind of services, like an MSSP. Sometimes some organizations, in terms of their security maturity, they don't have, like any idea what SOC is all about. So what they do is that they get an MSSP, and this MSSP sort of like acts as the outsourced SOC. And then eventually, as the organization becomes more mature, they realize that, hey, we can do this by ourselves, and then we're going to, set up our own SOC. So there's like different organizations, they have like different paths on how they, set up their SOC. Okay. Now, if you're a fresh graduate or you're still in the university and you're considering, hey, I want to work in a SOC. So which one should I choose? Is it a SOC in in an in-house kind of setup, or should I go for the MSSP? So it really depends on what you want to do. So it could be that you want to gain more experience like with different industries. So in that case, go for an MSSP. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to like really get to know like different industries, because each industry or each client coming from certain industry will have their own challenges. So each client has a very unique environment, and there's a lot of learning that I've gained because of working for for an MSSP. Now, if you're thinking of going for an in-house SOC job role, that's also fine, because when you're in an in-house SOC setup, it's easier for you to communicate with your end users, with the stakeholders, because you all belong in one organization. You all work for a company. Like, for example, if you find something suspicious, there was this traffic from one endpoint or host computer connecting to a computer, and then you saw an alarm. If you belong to an in-house SOC, so it's just so easy to either send a message using your company collaboration tools to that end user and ask them, hey, did you try to attempt to connect to this to this resource, but you were denied? And then you could ask those things. It's so easy because you belong in the same organization. But if you work for like an outsourced SOC, an MSSP, so depending on the communication pathways, or what was the agreement between the MSSP and their client, it could be that you send them a ticket, or sometimes it could be that you have those, you may use like a Slack or something. So it depends. Okay, so each one has its own pros and cons. But I guarantee you, if you're new and you decide to work for a SOC, there's a lot of things that you're gonna be doing, and it's very interesting. One day, each day is like different from the other days. There's always variety. Okay, now for those who are wondering, what are the skill sets, blue team skill sets that you need in order to function well in a SOC? So first of all, there is a requirement to have at least, the very basic host, server, and network knowledge. You have to be familiar with, the operating system, server, like for example, Active Directory, and networking knowledge. Because most of the SOC or MSSPs, okay, will rely on looking at network, the network traffic. So familiarity with packet capture, that's like and then packet capture analysis, that's really important. And then of course log and data analysis. So you will be looking at logs and you will have to analyze that. You, depending on the SOC that you work for, there will be different tools that the SOC will be using to do this analysis. And then now the third, fourth, and fifth part, now this may be like for someone who is a little bit more like level 2, level 3. Okay, so digital forensics, and then incident response and malware reverse engineering. By the way, if you listen to the keynote speaker, it was a very fantastic talk about, malware reverse engineering. There's like really no shortcut. You have to keep on practicing. Now, so in our company, because we have a a small team, we are like basically jack of all trades. So we do all these things. Yeah. But the malware reverse engineering, it like really depends on what is the requirement of the customer, because most of the time it may be just, like a commodity malware. So when we talk about commodity malware, there is detection with the different tools. So when you need to do like more of like reverse engineering, if it's like something suspicious, there's like a file that is suspicious, then you have to dig deeper and, analyze that. So these are the blue team skill set in order for you to, that you need in order to succeed in a SOC environment. Don't worry about the point one, the first point, and the second point, because all those things, okay, you can learn them. You set up your own home lab and do some practice. Okay, and even digital forensics. Yeah, you can there are like different tools. I'm sorry, not tools, like free, lab environment, or like like a VM that you could work with. So there's like Safe Workstation from SANS. Okay. Now, okay. Now, so I talked about the difference earlier regarding, blue teams and red teams. Now, so I come from a very blue team type of background. And when I joined, I was the first hire, which is like really predominantly blue. Other colleagues who were hired before me, their background was more on the, red teaming, more on pen testing. So I was the first blue team, hire. Blue team, or someone with a blue team mindset. So I'm really grateful for my teammates because they're very helpful and they're very patient. Okay, they were the one who taught me about like the different tools, because I'm used to using like different, malware-based kind of detection tools. And then when I joined the organization, it's more about like using a lot of like logs, looking at like, packet captures. And then at the same time, the interesting thing was that they basically repurpose certain hacker tools for, blue team kind of activity. So I'm not sure if you've heard about Bloodhound, but do check it out, because it's a tool that was first created in order to determine, Active Directory, relationships. So if you're going to be, attacking an organization, you want to like go for the, crown jewels, the Active Directory, and then you need to figure out like who are the users or like the domain, administrators, and then you can use like Bloodhound. So in our team, I basically use Bloodhound to collect, Active Directory artifacts. And then when I need to look up like, users and then, like relationships and all those things, I basically just query the Bloodhound collected artifacts. So that's one main thing that I learned from my teammates. Like you can repurpose certain tools. And then second is like thinking like an attacker. So as I said before, when, I would write, some reports, like, incident response reports, it would be like, this was detected, I saw this, and I build up the timeline of events, like what happened. So it's more of like, observing and then making a conclusion based on my observations. But now with my teammates, they always like say like, when you look at logs, think of if you're an attacker, how will you go about, attacking this organization? Which one will you target first? Or what is going to be your behavior? If you're gonna, move laterally, so it's always like, think like an attacker when analyzing logs. Now, there is an interesting tool analysis worksheet that the Japan CERT has came up. This particular tool analysis worksheet, I have the links later on in my in the last slide here, so that you can go look for those things. So this Japan CERT tool analysis worksheet has those different tools that are used by attackers and what are the forensic artifacts that they leave behind. Meaning, if the attacker used this particular tool, what are the logs or the source of evidence that you can check in your organization to find out if this tool was run in your organization. So that's a good tool analysis worksheet. Now, the third thing that my teammates has influenced me is to make full use of the vulnerability management tools. So we use, I'm not gonna name vendors, but there's like different vendors out there. So for vulnerability management, okay, I look at the report. So I know which particular servers in my client environment is susceptible to certain, vulnerabilities. Of course, we always have advisory and tell them that, hey, when we run this vulnerability scan, we found this, issues, and we need to make sure that you do your patching. But at the same time, at the back of my mind, at least I know that this particular server is, kind of vulnerable. So I have to make sure that when I'm doing my, my searching, during the day for that particular client, I pay attention to this, server or this group of servers. Okay. And then the fourth influence on my teammates on me was that they always say demonstrate impact. So it used to be when I like make reports, I just like, right there that, oh, there was an alert and then I checked this, found this, and it's using, let's just say, still using SMB version 1, and this is not a secure version. So you have to, turn that off and use the more secure version. So, but for my teammates, when they make a report, they actually demonstrate impact. Like, for example, if they found a particular server, they will try to not hack, but rather try to log in using certain default credentials. So that's to demonstrate impact. But before you go doing those things, okay, caution, there's a thing you have to remember. You have to make sure that if you work on an MSSP or even for an in-house SOC, that you have permission to do simulated adversarial activities. Don't go, looking for like, oh, there's like this, server out there that's like exposed out in the internet, and then I'm just gonna try to RDP to it, even though it's like it belongs to your client. You have to have it in the contract. And then last, they always have this mindset of be playful, like how can I get in? So we always like brainstorm about things and how can we get in? How do we get into our client's environment? And based on that, we provide recommendations in improving their security posture. Okay. Now, at this point, there's something that I'd like to share with you. Not everybody has actually heard of the hacker ethos. So if you haven't heard of the hacker ethos, the idea is that there's no judgment about your, race, sex, gender, academic background, or your position. So anybody who is interested in tech and tries to understand the tech, they will be considered a hacker. And there is a commitment to transparency and openness, especially those security researchers who are, doing their research in terms of, improving security for a particular product or particular software. So there's that commitment, and information is shared so that everyone can be helped. So the idea here with hacker ethos is that no matter whether you come from like the blue team side, red team side, or you have like, kind of a purple team kind of mentality, we all, it is a great cause to, try to follow the hacker ethos. Basically, use our talents and skill set to help our community. Okay. Now, so so anyway, this one I guess I talked too fast. And I think I have like plenty of time for question. So here are the links. So there's the Bloodhound link. There's the tool analysis worksheet from the Japan cert. Again, then you have like the links to those free photos that I got. So do we have any questions there about this? So my point in like giving this talk is to influence, people to consider going to a SOC. Okay, and second, to make sure that people also understand that when we talk about cybersecurity, it's not just, the ethical hackers, you also have the defenders, okay? And of course, for everyone to start embracing the hacker ethos, whether you're in the blue team or red team or, whichever part of tech, that you work in. Have any questions? Okay. Well, maybe you're shy or something. I have my Twitter there at GuileDC, so my DMs are open. Please feel free to message me. Due to the time difference, maybe I won't be able to respond quickly, or maybe it could be that it's my daytime, but I'm busy analyzing the logs, so I only get to respond at night. Okay.
Hi, Gail. Excellent talk. We have some questions in the Discord channel, so I am going to ask the questions to you. The first one is, what do you recommend to study to enter a SOC team?
Okay, that's a good question. Okay, so I'll just go back to my slides here. Blue team skill set. So the first point here is about host server network knowledge. So I suggest you read up about it, think of it like system administration. So I'll be frank, majority of our clients are on a Windows environment. So focus on the Windows operating system. You need to understand, like the different, services, the Windows services, so you know what is normal. Okay, and then you have to understand, Active Directory, and then permissions, all those things, and then of course networking knowledge. So you should make sure that you also understand the different network protocols. So of course HTTP, HTTPS, and do some practice with Pickup. There are a lot of online websites where you can download Pickup, where you can study it. Okay, so there's a very good book about Wireshark, so just look for that. And then log and data analysis. So basically this is more on like the different logs that that you can get out of, let's just say, Windows environment. So just be familiar with the different event IDs. Of course there's thousands, don't memorize them all, but just understand, like, if something happens in an endpoint or a computer, like what are the potential event IDs that will show you what happened. And then if you want to further specialize, like look at digital forensics, so focus on endpoint or the host forensics, Windows forensics. Okay.
Perfect. One question more.
Mm-hmm.
They ask if you are in the blue team, it is possible for a person to enter to do research and exploit development.
Okay.
Coming from the blue team to exploit development and research.
Okay, so in that case, you will have to look for an organization wherein they will have that kind of specialization. Like, for example, okay, think of the SOC as something that you start in terms of early in your career, because being in a SOC, like for example, when you look at endpoints and you further like study the operating system, and you get to understand the operating system or the applications, so that will give you an idea like, hey, I think there's some issues that I see there, and then you can do further research. So it really depends on the organization. So it could be that if you're new, you start with the SOCs and then get to know really operating system and application, and then further specialize. So the great thing about cybersecurity, especially with red team and blue team, is that there are people who come from a red team background and then they move into like blue team and they really like it. And then there's like people who are in blue team move towards like the red team side. So when we talk about exploit development, that will be towards the red team side. So whatever you learn regarding the defense, okay, the blue team, the defense, will help you if you want to do that exploit development and research stuff later on. Okay.
Great, Gail. Thank you very much. We love your talk. And now we are going with another talk in a few minutes.
And
so
before
thank you.
Can I just
Thank you for doing this talk.
Gracias, and I want to give you a Wakandan salute because I cannot give you real world hugs. So take care, everyone. Stay safe, and please keep in touch if ever you're in my side of, the world, Melbourne, Australia. Okay, take care. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay.